Good morning. Welcome to our virtual job spotlight 19 on information technology. My name is Lynn April, and I'm the Director of Education for Economic Development at CESA 8 in Gillett, Wisconsin. And with me today is Meg from NWTC, who will be manning the chat. Along with our two organizations, the virtual job spotlights are also sponsored by the Ahnapee Youth Apprenticeship Consortium, UWGB, CESA 7, and Inspire Northeast Wisconsin. And on to the next slide. So our three guests today are all going to be talking about their IT careers, and they are Brian Hicks, who is the Systems Manager at Skyward, Peter Durnell, who is the Operations Director at E.O. Johnson, and Lucas Koenig, who is Chief Technology Officer at Kerber Rose. Our final IT spotlights for March will be next week, and we always on the third Wednesday have our post-secondary partners. So we're going to be hearing from the NWTC Digital Print Department, NWTC Associate Dean of IT, and UWGB's Computer Science Chair. Just a reminder of our norms today. The meeting is being recorded and will be broadcast through Inspire Northeast Wisconsin. As students join us, they will be muted and their video capabilities will be turned off. I'll be sharing my screen and we'll be able to see presenters' slides from my screen. So that's how you will be viewing this. If we do have attendees that leave the meeting, I will keep an eye on the waiting room. So hopefully you'll be able to get back in, but no guarantees. Please do ask questions in the chat. That's why Meg's going to be manning that. So if you've got any questions on anything for our speakers, don't be afraid to ask. And we don't ever anticipate needing to do this, but we do have the ability to remove folks from the meeting if they're being distracting. So we're going to jump into our speakers this morning, and our first speaker is Brian Hicks, the System Manager at Skyward. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning. Thank you. So as Lynn said, my name is Brian Hicks. I am the systems development, a software development manager, systems development manager for Skyward. I've been here about 17 years, spent about 15 years of that time programming as a software engineer. For those that aren't familiar with Skyward, we do school administration software. So basically things that the schools need to function, from grades and food service, things like that. Many of you probably have used us. Some of you probably like us, some of you probably hate us because your parents can see your grades and see how awful you're doing, like myself, or how wonderful you were doing, like my sister. Skyward has about 650 employees. Most of which, about a third of those, about 200 of those are software engineers. So we are a software development company. That's the only thing that we do, excuse me. We have about 7.5 million students that use our software. When you add in teachers and parents, we're probably over 10 million users of Skyward. So lots of people to interact with what we do. So Lynn, we can go to the next slide.
When you solve that problem, I think that's the most rewarding. So programming is really a rewarding career. When people hear you say, yeah, I'm a programmer, and they start thinking, oh, wow, I wonder if I'll be able to do it. And I truly believe that just about anybody can do it.
When I started 15 years ago, I went through the whole day and I never talked to a single person. That's what life as a developer used to be. You sat in your cube, you wrote your code, that's what you did. Life now is very, very much different in the software engineer environment. We're constantly working together. We work on teams. Every morning that group gets up, they get together, they talk about what they're going to do for that day, what they did yesterday, any problems that they might have. It is very much collaborative.
Each individual team definitely has a very tight-knit or a tight bond. It's not just a place to work. You know, you do end up having a lot of close friends that are here or making a lot of friendships. Some of the nice benefits, I know of a lot of people that have taken advantage of the flexible work hours of being able to work 4/10s versus the 8-hour days. The locker rooms that are downstairs where a lot of people like to go on runs or bike on lunch.
So for professional growth, we work really hard with our software engineers to set up a path so that they know what they need to do to grow. Some people like to sit in their cube and that they just want to write code all day, and that's totally cool. Some people have bigger aspirations. Our system managers are really good at identifying that and really helping them grow and figure out, where do I want to go? Where do I want to be?
I think more and more women are actually braving the programming industry. Hopefully, some of these younger generation will be able to see this and find the motivation that, hey, you know what, this is really cool and I can do this. There's a lot of things that keeps me motivated. I think just leaving a footprint in a bigger picture. When you think about the stuff that you do every day, you don't see how that plays out right away. Eventually, you get to see it, and it's like, oh, I did that. You know, I did that. I was part of that.
Our customer interaction, it drives our product, you know, or gives us the backing as to why we need to change our product sometimes. And we definitely are making their lives easier by automating a lot of these processes or making them more efficient. And, you know, it's just a rewarding thing to do.
What we provide to these schools is indispensable. I can't imagine how they would function without what we do and how well we work together with the schools to provide that. So I really believe in what we do. That's how I stay motivated. It's easy. I love it.
So one of the things Nick mentioned, showers here at Skyward, that became really important this morning when the power was out at my house.
No.
So I got to come in here, took a shower at work, came up here. Awesome, glad we had showers. So talking a little bit about some of the skills that we look for from our software engineers, and quite honestly, I think these skills apply to any job, any work that you're going to do. Some of these I think are really obvious from a software engineering standpoint, as far as good analytical skills, good problem solving skills. So you need to be able to look at a problem and analyze that issue and say, how are we going to do this? How are we going to break this down? How are we going to solve this problem? And then you need to be able to solve the problem. You need to have really good, strong problem solving skills. And I think the one that really gets kind of overlooked a little bit from the software development standpoint is communication. Those videos that you saw were slightly staged, but they were a replication of things that happen every single day. Like I said in there, we used to sit in our cube and write code and never interact. Well, that world has changed. We are now constantly working together as a group to solve these problems, and because of that, we've gotten even better. Then you can go to the next slide, please. So, kind of building on this idea of what skills that you need. Software development in almost every area now is something called an agile work environment. We have, as I said, around 200 developers, about 25 different teams. Each of those teams ranges from 4 to 6 developers, but then they'll also include other people in the department, in the company, a quality assurance person, a product owner. So being able to communicate not just technically, but also taking that technical knowledge and being able to speak about that in a non-technical way, explaining it to people who are not software engineers is absolutely critical. There's lots of collaboration, constantly working together as a group to solve the problem, as opposed to just one person trying to figure it out. Some big advice that I would give to you as you're going through high school and post-high school education that you may go through, really work on those communication skills. The math, the computer science, those courses are going to teach you the how to write the code. They're going to teach you how to be analytical. They're going to teach you how to solve problems. But where you're going to stand out and where you're really going to excel, especially at a company like Skyward, is if you can communicate, if you can work together as a team, if you can come in here and you can be a good leader and help your team develop, that's where you're really going to stand out to us and to any employer really that you're looking at this. I hated group projects when I was going to school. use those as an opportunity to learn and to grow and to kind of hone some of those skills that you need to work together, because honestly, that's the reality of the world now. We are constantly working together as a group. I think that's all that I've got for you today. So I will hand it back to Lynn.
Well, I've got some questions. So yeah, you did talk a lot about collaboration and teamwork in your 25 teams there at Skyward. So what kind of impact did COVID have on you when that happened a year ago?
Yeah, holy cats. The cool thing about being introverted, geeky software engineers, and I use the term geeky because it applies to myself, is we're really good at working at home and sitting in our basement or wherever it is that we like to work. The employees were absolutely amazing. We hardly missed a beat. We sent everybody home. We've been home now for over a year. I am in the office today because it's quieter, and I have 2 dogs, Lynn, that will bark like crazy, and I didn't want to deal with that today. There's, I think, 30 or 40 people in this building that normally houses about 600. So most of us are working from home. We've got some really great tools to collaborate and work together. Not quite as good as spinning around in your chair and talking to the person behind you, but the tools that we have are good. And we're just good at that adaptation and being able to say, yeah, we can do this remotely. This isn't a big deal.
Great. The other question I had was on women in IT. So you did mention that more women are getting involved in IT. So at Skyward, what are you seeing as far as trends with the number of women that you've got now at Skyward, and kind of where you see that going?
Yeah, I don't have any specific numbers. All I have is anecdotal information. I would say we're pretty level, not seeing an increase and not seeing a decrease in the females that join our ranks. I am part of the hiring process here. We just don't see a lot of women that come through. It's maybe 10%.
Okay.
So girls, go
Yep.
out there.
Yep, we've got to encourage the girls that code. Yeah. I know that is something that's becoming more popular in districts. So we need to push girls that code.
Yes, girls that code.
Great. Meg, do you have any questions?
No questions in the chat, but I do have a question. I love that you called out the communication skills, because we do have a course here called Oral Interpersonal Communication. And I feel like that is a great course to take in order to gain those skills. I was interested in learning a little bit more on what types of problems do you look at each day?
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one. I'll take this from you don't want to know what problems I, as the systems manager, deal with because it's really boring. But as a software engineer, you're dealing with, for example, here's one that just came in today. We had some customers, they were trying to submit some data to the state, and it was failing. It was failing over and over again. So that comes into us from the district with a service call, and gets forwarded to the team, and the team then has to go in there and figure out, what is the problem? Where is it? Is it us? Is it the state? Those are one of the problems that we need to deal with. Another one that we commonly deal with is a school district says, we want a screen that does this. So we want this particular functionality. Well, how do we deliver that functionality? They can't tell us that from a technical standpoint, but they can explain, we want a screen that shows all of the students that are in my classroom, and I can quickly go through and check them off as to whether they're here or not. We have that screen, but that would be one of those examples where we would have to kind of figure out how to design that, how to store that information, how to retrieve that information quickly. Does that help?
Perfect. Yes, thank you. I think this will be a really good role for someone who's a learner, and it's really exciting to do something new every day and you're not constantly doing the same thing. So I think that is a great call out. Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much, Brian, for your information. And we will move on to our second speaker today, and that is Peter Durnell, the Operations Director at E.O. Johnson. And I'm going to stop my share and go to speaker view here so that we can see Peter.
Morning, everyone. Thanks for having me. Again, my name is Peter Grinnell. I'm the Operations Director at EO Johnson, and more specifically, I'm the Operations Director for LockNet Managed IT Services, which is the IT arm of EO Johnson. So what we do at LockNet is we provide managed service support and managed service security for financial institutions, regulated business, small businesses, and really across the board. So what does that mean? I'll unpack that a little bit. So clients that may or may not have their own internal IT come to us to look for support and assistance with managing their patching for their desktops and their servers and troubleshooting any problems that they may encounter, helping them with strategic initiatives for their businesses. How are they going to grow? How do we help them from an IT perspective become more efficient at what they do? We also protect their environments from any malicious actors, hackers and script kiddies and people who feel the need to do criminal activity against their environment. It is very lucrative business, like unfortunately a lot of criminal activity is, but it's not the right way to go about things. So our job is to be the defensive arm for their organization as well. A little bit about me. I got into IT in 2003 when I joined the military. And it was for sure not a straight line from high school or into college or into IT by any stretch. So I had a wide variety of positions before I went into that. And I really identified in the military that I enjoyed working through those things. IT is a combination of puzzles. If you enjoy working on puzzles and figuring out what problems there are and how to solve them, IT is probably going to be a good fit for you. So once I got out of the military, I got my 2-year degree from a small college in Iowa called Hawkeye Community College. And then I started with a small managed service provider in Iowa who was then acquired by LockNet. So, and since then, I started out as a support center level 1. So I took phone calls. I went on site for clients to work on replacing machines and doing server health checklists and troubleshooting problems on site for clients. From there, I moved into an escalated position where I took the more challenging and difficult problems. And then from there, I became the support center manager. And I've grown that team from 8 people to now we're up to 36. And then just recently, I was promoted to operations director. So now I oversee 80 IT professionals, and my whole function with LockNet is to ensure proper customer service delivery. So making sure that clients get onboarded appropriately with all of our services, make sure we're delivering the services that they're paying for, and make sure they have a great customer experience. So it's super busy, average day to day. If you're in the support center, it could be taking phone calls, working on trouble tickets via email. And those problems could range from something like a password reset to something as wild and crazy as what happened last week, where you have a massive vulnerability running across the world from I'll say accused Chinese organization, and working through doing forensic analysis on environments that may or may not have been compromised from a situation like that. And it can go from stress-free every single day to high stress, high workload. So it's really a lot of fun. Our days go by really, really fast. So you come in at 8 o'clock and before you know it, you're going home for the evening. So it's a really great time. Like I said, puzzles are phenomenal in IT, and they're very challenging, and I really enjoy it. Advice into getting into IT, like I said, I didn't have a straight line into getting into IT. I moved around a bit. I tried a bunch of different things. I've found that a lot of people who really enjoy it are also big gamers. They love playing in IT outside of work. They love breaking down computers, and they're just in it all day, every day. It's something that they truly enjoy. And those who truly enjoy it really find a lot of passion, and they dig into things. What I would advise for that is IT is huge. Brian is a developer. I am a troubleshooter. You know, Lucas does some of the same things, but there's a huge variety in that. So you can program and code applications, you can troubleshoot applications, you can replace hardware and, you know, break it down and put it all back together. Inside of that, there's firewalls and servers and workstations, and all of those things require a high degree of skill to be able to support and manage. Or you could be the Swiss Army knife in IT and know a lot about firewalls and routers and networking, and know a lot about servers and desktops and workstations and things like that. So really, if you're looking into getting into IT, if you are involved in one specific area and that's not really something that suits you, just move on to the next one and keep learning and keep studying. So it's always changing, so it's never the same every day.
Great. Can you tell me a little bit about maybe some specific things that you did in the military that kind of pointed you in the direction of IT?
Sure. So when I initially enlisted, they gave me an option of being a medic or being in IT, and being a medic was just not something that was interesting to me. So yeah, what we did is we dealt with anything that could provide communication, whether it be a radio, a computer, a satellite dish, whatever the case may be, was what we had to work on. And that really helped me find my niche about what I really enjoyed. Just trying to figure things out. When somebody else couldn't figure it out, I really enjoyed digging into it. And I would go 15, 20 hours straight just trying to figure out what the problem was, because that communication, especially in the military, is critical. And even in IT, just to emphasize what Brian said, IT, you have many ways of communication. It's not just verbal conversation. It's a lot of written communication. It's a lot of chat and IMs. And it's critical that when you're communicating with clients that you're very clear, because IT can get very specific and it can fly over the top of people's heads very fast.
Awesome. You used a term that I wasn't familiar with. So you talked about hackers, but then you said script kiddies. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yep. So it's a term for, I would say, probably less skilled hackers. Usually they get started in that, and what they do is they can go out on the internet and find a script that somebody else wrote and just run it to their advantage. So you can build programs that run these things for you automatically. So in any way, anytime a hacker or somebody like that tries to gain access to your environment, the first piece to that is to find a weakness. Where is the weak spot in the network? And you can run, you know, pre-built scripts that find those for you, and then you can target your attack that way.
Got it. All right, great. Thanks for defining that for someone who knows nothing about IT. So Meg, do you have any questions?
Yes, I do. I think there's a lot of similarities there, and I'm glad you asked the military question because it is very military related. There's some foreign person trying to invade your space. So really in IIT, you're trying to prevent that as well. So I feel like there could be some good marrying of tactics there to try and quote unquote defeat the enemy. What I was interested in is that in your particular sector of IT, what do you find most rewarding about your job?
I think the biggest thing is our owner, Mary Jo, she always talks about how many mouths we feed, right? So let's say every employee that we hire, on average, there's 4 mouths to feed. And we apply that same logic to our customers as well. So if their environments are more efficient, if their work can be done and can be continued, we can help grow their business, we can provide for even more families, right? So every business that we support and are able to make them a more profitable business can lead to hopefully more pay for their employees, more employees in general, and that continued growth. So I think I really take it that direction, and that gives me a lot of satisfaction. But like I said, the puzzle piece for me, you know, I've got Rubik's Cubes laying all over at my house because I'm normally working from home these days. You know, that's what I really get a lot of enjoyment out of, in solving that puzzle and fixing that problem that nobody else could fix. I take a lot of pride in that.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much, Peter, for that information.
Sure.
And I will go back to sharing my screen here and move on to, there we go, our last speaker, and that is Lucas Koenig, the Chief Technology Officer at Kerber Rose. Lucas.
Thanks, Lynn. Like Lynn said, I'm the Chief Technology Officer for Kerber Rose. Kerber Rose is a tax and accounting firm. We have 12 locations throughout Northeast Wisconsin and 1 location in Marquette, Michigan. We provide tax and accounting, payroll, audit, business advisory services. We have a wealth management division. And then also, I am also the Chief Technology Officer for our Kerber Rose Technology division, which offers, similar to Peter, we offer managed services, IT project work, cybersecurity and backup solutions, and disaster recovery planning, things like that. Next slide, please, Lynn. So one of the questions I do get a lot is, how did you get to where you're at? And I get that a lot from even people that we interview. It's a good question. I kind of wanted to break it down in more detail. That I started my career actually before I even got any degrees. I was, like Peter and Brian said, a bona fide geek. I broke my parents' computer multiple times, rebuilt it, played around with different things back in the day. But my professional career started in 2003 when I applied for the associate's degree network specialist program here in Green Bay at NWTC. While I was in the associate's program, I received an internship from Shawano School District, which I'll talk about later on internships and volunteering, but was an intern there through my associate's degree program. When I finished my associate's degree, I was hired on immediately with the Shawano School District as a network technician. I worked at the Shawano School District for about 7 years. After about 3 years with the Shawano School District, I actually started up my own IT consulting business, along with my full-time job, providing similar IT project work, break fix work for small to medium-sized business throughout the Shawano and surrounding areas. I then, at the same time, worked at finishing my bachelor's degree. I was into programming and coding, was something that I was interested in. I finished my bachelor's degree in computer science from Lakeland College. And as soon as I finished that bachelor's degree, obviously I then moved up to a network administrator role with the Shawano School District. As a network administrator, I decided, the coding, the programming maybe wasn't the area. I really am one of those weird people that love meetings, love to communicate with people, like to be talking to others, and like to be in the decision-making process when it comes to technology. I really like budgeting, planning technology across multiple years. That's actually what gets me going during the day. So I went and got my master's degree in business administration, or my MBA, from Lakeland. And shortly after I got my MBA, I was hired on by Bellin College in Green Bay as their director of technology. I encourage anybody that listens to this video, if IT is not your field but nursing is, please take a look at Bellin College. It's a great facility, awesome technology. We spent a lot of money upgrading their services, so I encourage you to look at Bellin College. After I was with Bellin College for about 3 years as a director of technology, more of a hands-on director of technology. I had the network administration background, and then also did board meetings, manage budget, manage their IT as a whole. It was a good stepping stone for me to get management experience while still using my technical skills. Shortly after that, in about 3 years, my IT consulting business was still going, and actually was growing at a pace that I needed to make a decision whether I was going to stay in a management role at a place, at a facility or a business, or start really putting my time towards the IT consulting business. I didn't have to make that decision because Kerber Rose ended up approaching me and saying, "Hey, we know you've been doing IT consulting in this area. We want to grow our technology firm, and would you want to come on board with us?" So was a pretty short decision, came on board with Kerber Rose, sold my IT consulting business to them, and started as a CTO for both Kerber Rose SC and Kerber Rose Technology with my client base. Next slide, please, Lynn. So what does a day in the life of a CTO look like? You know, when I look at it, a CTO is really, even though it's an executive position, I look at it as maybe as a business decision maker. We sit at the table with the shareholders in what are called shareholders in our company, owners in other companies. Our job is to steer the technology for that company and make sure that it's aligned with business initiatives, that the companies are making money, that the technology is not holding them back, basically. So with Kerber Rose, my internal position with Kerber Rose, the accounting firm, I roadmap technology. So that means I plan out what technology is now and what technology is going to look like in 3 to 5 years from now. That's one of my main responsibilities, and that's not something you roadmap and then walk away. I am probably visiting that every month to make sure that we are still staying in the right path. I mean, there's even right now is tax season, so it's a busy time for us. We currently have over 200 employees at our 13 offices. So we are, you know, as we grew fast. There are things after tax season that I will be adjusting in our roadmap already because, you know, technology, software changes, our capacity needs to be adjusted. I also manage all the technology for all 13 offices. So just as Peter and Brian talked about, you know, the software, the hardware, that means computers, laptops, firewalls, internet connection at each site, making sure connectivity is correct and our uptime is high. And then also the budget and that goes along with that. And then once like I hit on, I love meetings. That's what got me into these positions. And I'm gonna go along with Brian on this. And I know Peter hit on it, is communication is key. What got me to where I'm at now is not because I'm 10 times smarter than somebody else. It's because generally I can explain complex technology solutions to people that do not understand technology at all. And that's what's going to get you if you want to be in a management level, or it's going to get you to move up, you know, 5 times faster than somebody that just does not talk at all and just does their work. So I love internal meetings. I'm head of all the IT steering committees. That steering committees means that people within the organization, different parts of the firm, sit down and talk about what technology is working, what technology is not working, what they would like to see, and how we go about implementing it. And then I take those initiatives and put it into that technology roadmap once again. From a Kerber Rose technology standpoint, I know Peter hit on the managed services and such, so I don't want to spend too much time, but I create technology solutions for clients and then sell them as products. Obviously that's our job is to make profit and to give our clients good solutions that make them more efficient and more productive. I do all the business. I'm in charge of all the business development, which is essentially the sales, client satisfaction, profitability, etc. All of our IT staff at Kerber Rose is actually held under our Kerber Rose technology firm, which then supports Kerber Rose, the tax and accounting. So under Kerber Rose technology, I manage all of our engineers, network administrators, IT support staff, and admin staff. I make sure that their development, that's big. And I know, I'm sure Peter deals with this a lot too, is you want to develop. We're working on developing our staff in the technology field so that they can move up as they want in different roles, keep building our business and not having to constantly just hire more and more people. We can hire within or promote within and then hire at a lower level. That's really our goals. And then obviously working, one of the big things is relationships with vendors. I'm constantly working with outside vendors. Examples would be HP, Dell, Microsoft, those type of vendors to create relationships so that we can use their solutions in our solutions for the clients. So next slide, please. So some advice. I know that high school level. And I wanted to reiterate, I think Brian hit on it too, is, you know, you might be really interested in technology, but you're just not sure where you fit in technology, you know, what you want to do. And we wouldn't expect in high school. I didn't know in high school where I wanted to be. I just thought it was cool to go play video games and break things on a computer and fix them and see it fire back up and, you know, working again. That was cool to me. I was just trying new things. So I tell people, try everything, try coding, programming, see if you like it. That was something that I thought I would love. I guess it just doesn't fit my, you know, my attitude, and sitting there and coding is just, it is my thing, but it might be yours. So try that, you know, try break fix on computers, try different classes online that teach you about computer networking. Obviously, I'm very heavy into the networking side of technology. So I encourage everybody to try the different solutions. It'll help you to funnel you to the right direction of where you think you really enjoy working. Secondly, and this is what I hit on earlier, is intern and volunteers. And I'm sure Lynn can back me up on this, there's a ton of internships through school districts, townships, cities, I should say counties, cities, even businesses. I've seen a bigger influx in intern programs with businesses and wanting to bring in entry-level IT people so that they can start working with them ahead of time and maybe hire them on after their internship is done. Also volunteer. You can volunteer at, you know, if you're part of a private school, a church, you know, different nonprofit organizations. They're always looking for help. And then also, obviously, if you know somebody in the IT field and you can volunteer to help them out in some way or capacity. I felt I worked and learned the most with hands-on experience. Education is fundamental. You need the basics, but hands-on is, you can't replace it. So some certifications that I thought, you know, I'd just bring up, doesn't mean in high school you're going to necessarily get these certifications. The first you might be able to, it is CompTIA A+. We always look for, when we're hiring somebody, we're looking for somebody that has the basics, the foundation of understanding computers. If it's network position, computer networking, the A+ certification starts to give you that foundation, and we can kind of see, you know, this person understands the basics of computer and computer languages. CompTIA Network Plus is kind of that next step when you get into, you know, maybe your first or second year of college, you're starting to understand IP addressing. So some of the networking jargon, I encourage you to get something similar to a CompTIA Network Plus certification, showing that you have an understanding of both, you know, IT, how it works, the security around it, and then it just makes your resume a lot more solid. And then also, I wanted to hit on, you know, cloud solutions. Even though you're in high school and you're not really there yet, I think it's important to be looking at cloud solutions and the certifications that go around cloud solutions. That's Amazon Web Services, that's Microsoft Azure, that's Google Cloud Solutions. These are all things, I mean, you look at the Fortune 500, 95% of the Fortune 500 have moved some sort of their infrastructure to a cloud-based solution. So those type of certifications, from an earning standpoint and from longevity, I think we're going to see a lot of our networking type of certifications move also alongside with those cloud solutions. So please keep an eye out and for those cloud solution certifications, sorry. And then cybersecurity. One thing I wanted to hit on is, because we do get, and I know Peter hit on cybersecurity a little bit, but we do get a lot of applicants with cybersecurity educational background. But what I want them to understand is it is important to get those certifications, but really look at what you're going to be doing with your cybersecurity education. And it is great to get a baseline in the computer networking world before you really finish your cybersecurity certification. That's why I have it highlighted in red. To me, I've dealt with a couple of, we actually have one hired with us that works with us that had a cybersecurity degree before he actually went and got his networking degree. And I think if that was flip-flopped and you got the fundamentals first and then got some experience and then get into the cybersecurity, cybersecurity takes a decent amount of time to understand and manage. So That leads me to my next point. Understand it takes time. There's no, I know I talked to a lot of younger students in my area, and I think they have the perspective that they're going to get a degree and come out and be making all sorts of money and have this awesome position. And there are a few that are going to do that, because there's some very intelligent IT minds out there at a young age. But understand, to perfect your craft, it takes a lot of time. Put the work in. Understand, once you know where you want to go, really spend every last hour you have learning every individual piece of what you're trying to learn. Because if you can perfect your craft, you can use what you've learned in all different capacities, and it's going to move you on to your next job and your next certification and your next learning. And that leads me to keep learning. Don't stop what you're doing. Don't get comfortable where you're at. Technology is ever changing. Every day something changes. So just keep learning, keep your eyes open to where those trends are in technology, and make sure that once you find what you like, follow those trends and keep learning in that capacity. So thanks a lot, Lynn. And that's all I had for right now.
All right. So I don't think that I've ever had anybody say that their favorite thing about their job is that they love meetings, but I'm right there with you. I do too.
I'm a little weird like that. Yes.
So talk to me a little bit about, there's kind of a disconnect for me between an accounting and tax firm and having a technology company as part of them. So, why would an accounting and tax company make that decision?
So it's similar to the wealth division. So if you look at it from a Kerber Rose perspective, they have, let's say, I think we have close to 10,000 clients. We already have IT that are in-house supporting their IT services, giving them a lot of what they already have. Basically, what we have to do is grow our IT team a little bit bigger, and then start selling those solutions to that client base that they have. So that's really, it's driven by giving them an increase in IT staff and knowledge in-house at Kerber Rose without costing them as much money, and then also driving profit for the firm. There's, especially in like the Shawano and some of the areas that we've been in a long time, we have a good market share in the accounting side of things. So they need to find other avenues to keep that profitability moving in the right direction. And that's where, wealth management was added, technology was added. It's really just another driver for profit, and then obviously bring the expertise in-house from an IT standpoint.
Great.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it absolutely does. I many years ago, I originally went to college for accounting, and that was back before there was really technology around any of this. So yeah, that does actually make a lot of sense that the two are really closely connected. You talked about that roadmap and how you come back to it constantly during the year to make sure you're on track. Obviously, you couldn't have had a roadmap for COVID. So how were you able to navigate that?
Yeah, so COVID was a learning experience. Luckily, we had implemented solutions that allowed us to work from home. The hardest part for us was our multiple locations. We had, at the time, I think we had 11 locations, with some of our locations being in remote areas. So that was probably, from an internet and connectivity standpoint, was our biggest issue that we had. We had the solutions like Microsoft Teams implemented. We had our phone systems in place. If most people are used to working from home, because we do have a Citrix environment, which is a remote access environment where they can run apps from wherever they are in the world. It doesn't matter. So our infrastructure and our technology was there. The little things are what gave us little hiccups there. I would say our transition went very smoothly. Within when we heard about it, we held off a little bit, thinking we're not sure how serious this is. As soon as we knew that it was serious, I was in a room with our CEO and all the main players in the company to say, how are we going to go about this? Within a week, we had we had all of our offices and a plan to go with it starting to transition to offsite. We had people working from home. The only area, like I said, that we suffered, we have offices like in Rhinelander, Wisconsin, in different areas where it's a little bit remote and your internet connectivity is not the greatest. So some of those we had to figure out solutions for. But other than that, I was thankful that we had a Microsoft Teams environment in place, and the transition went really smoothly.
Great. Meg, do you have any questions?
I don't have anything specific, but I do want to highlight, I really appreciate you talking about internships and getting that real world experience, because it is a lot different than what you're learning in a book. Yeah. Between that and applying it.
Yeah, there's a huge difference. And I'm more hands-on, so I didn't learn as much out of a book as I did on site, configuring servers and switches and such. I mean, that's where you learn. And yeah, I feel like those internships are invaluable. It gives you so much experience, even if that's not the avenue you take long term, it still helps you out.
Yeah. And if you're a student that's interested in IT, check with your district's IT coordinator, because I don't know many districts that don't make use of students either during the summer or during the school year to be part of that team.
Yeah, Shawano usually had a couple interns, so.
Great. All right, thanks so much. Just a reminder again that we're going to be looking at post-secondary options for IT next week, so please join us for that. And as always, we appreciate feedback from students, teachers, anybody who's using the videos, so you can find that survey at this link. And I will stop share and just one more time thank all of our speakers today for joining us. We always learn a tremendous amount, especially when there are areas that we know nothing about. So thank you so much, and we will get this information out to students and teachers. Have a great week.
Thank you.